What's up, Spider lovers, and welcome to another episode of That 90s Spider-Man Show, where we usually talk about the animated series from the 90s. But we're not doing that today at all. Today we're talking about a very special movie starring a very special vampire hunter. We're talking about Blade, everybody! My name's Henry, I'm one of your hosts this evening, and alongside me is Jack, as always.
Yep, here skating uphill.
Like a true motherfucker. So yeah, Blade, right? The only reason people past a certain age are aware of Wesley Snipes, apart from, like, hilarious tax evasion. And also, like, A Small World of Dolomite.
That guy who didn't pay income tax, or who doesn't believe in income tax, he played Blade?
Yeah, he was the guy who played Blade. The only reason we know Blade now, the only reason Mahershala Ali wants to play Blade, even, is because of this dude, because of this movie, even.
Our boy Wesley.
Our boy Wesley, our Snipes man.
Blade is a big one that, weirdly enough, people don't really talk about a huge amount.
No.
It's kind of weird, actually, isn't it?
It's really weird. I remember when Black Panther was coming out and everyone was like, oh, there's a new superhero that's black. That's the first time this has ever happened. And then Wesley Snipes, like, wept a single tear. And then, like,
well, he's got even more reason to do that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know this, but he actually tried to get this Black Panther project off the ground throughout the 90s. It was in development, I don't know, like the mid-90s or something. And basically, Blade was in development since like 92. And I think originally they were like trying to make it more of a bit more of a spoof.
Yeah.
And then David S. Goyer, who wrote Blade and the other Blades and a bunch of other great and terrible movies over the years. Weird-ass IMDb page, that
Extremely
guy.
weird.
But he convinced them to like make it more of this sort of serious tone, and although not that serious as it turns out.
I feel like the serious tone was probably like, we'll get into it, but it was a bit of a misstep.
Right, and basically this initial project, they had a few people going in for the role of Blade, but like a big one early on was actually LL Cool J.
Oh, that would have been fucking terrible.
It's what a bizarro universe where you get a Wesley Snipes Black Panther and a LL Cool J Blade.
Yeah, and you probably don't get an MCU because most of those movies bomb.
Yeah. Oh god, that would be so strange. Although at the same time, like if Snipes like really pulled it back, maybe his T'Challa could have worked.
If he paid his taxes, he wouldn't have gone to jail. What's your point?
Oh god. This guy's getting a beating this episode.
Oh my god, I have no idea. But yeah, like, I don't know if Wesley Snipes is capable. I'm sure he's capable, I'm not sure if he's willing to, like, tone it back.
Yeah, I wonder how much he was actually asked to go nuts in this movie and how much was just him.
Yeah, I think he kind of just shows up, and I think we'll get into it in a bit more, but I'm glad he Wesley Snipes the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Two more, like, little factoids about this before we kind of jump into it. For one thing, Deacon Frost, the bad guy in this, played by Stephen Dorff.
Oh, yeah.
Originally, it was going to be played by Jet Li.
Interesting.
Which makes kind of more sense to me, given some of the fight scenes.
Yeah.
But apparently Jet Li didn't do it because he went and did Lethal Weapon 4.
Lethal Weapon 4?
Apparently.
Damn, I always thought... No, this was before the one, wasn't it?
Before the what?
The one with Jason Statham and all, like, the...
I think that's early 2000s, isn't it?
Yeah, like 2000s. This is, like, 98?
Yeah, we're in 98 now.
Yeah. Back in 1998.
But they did some test screenings and stuff. It bombed super hard. They cut like 20 minutes from the movie and reshaped it a bit, put it out there. It got kind of mixed critical reviews, but was a pretty big hit. It had a 45 million budget, but ended up earning 131 million worldwide, which is pretty good for back then. And also, in a weird way, but also not really, started off what we think of as like modern superhero movies. Yeah.
Especially from a Marvel perspective.
Yeah, but even like DC, like they had Superman had come and gone, and then Batman had come and pretty much gone by this point. What was it? 98's Batman and Robin, right?
97, I want to say.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of people didn't like that, and then that franchise kind of disappeared for like 5 years.
Yeah, we're still 2 years away from an X-Men movie.
Yeah, exactly.
We've just had, I think, was Meteor Man around this time?
Meteor Man?
You didn't know Meteor Man?
No?
I think his name is Meteor Man. Not Method Man, but Meteor Man. This was like the black superhero that we had to...
Holy shit.
Yeah.
93.
Yeah, we're just out of Meteor Man. I think Steel's around this time.
Bill Cosby is in this?
Yes, Bill Cosby is in this movie.
Have you seen this?
I've seen bits of it when I was like
Appearances by Luther Vandross, Sinbad, Cypress Hill. Okay. Let's ignore that. This is too much of a distraction already. We'll talk about that another time, because what the hell? Okay, back to Blade. God damn it. Okay,
back to Blade. But the point is, in the 90s, it was a bit of a barren wasteland for superheroes.
A bad time for black people.
Yeah. Terrible time for black people. We're in like the peak years with Will Smith, so that's something.
Yeah.
It's not all bad for black people. Biggie and Tupac have gotten shot by this point.
Is 98, when's Bad Boys 2? Or was that Bad Boys 98?
Bad Boys is 98. Bad Boys 2 is 2003, I want to say.
Right, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's peak Will Smith, but...
Will Smith. Men in Black's just
what are we even talking about now?
Black people.
Oh, we're talking about black people.
Yeah. And then the blackest vampire person as well. Blade.
He is the blackest vampire in this movie, right? He's the only one.
He's the only black vampire in this movie.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, as far as like starting off the superhero genre, I kind of feel like a lot of people go, okay, this is this huge behemoth now of this subgenre, and people go, X-Men was the one that started it, you know?
Nope.
And I disagree and I agree with them at the same time, because Blade started this, and I think anyone who says there's more of a comic book movie than a superhero movie because it's like a horror vampire thing, this is a superhero movie.
Absolutely.
He does superhero shit in it.
It's not particularly plotted like a superhero movie, is anything?
Yeah, I guess so. But he's very clearly superhuman, and
he's got powers.
He's just like a super anti-hero, I guess. But on the other side of things, I don't think this was trying to be a superhero movie that much. And also, in terms of public perception, I feel like people weren't, even if it pretty much is a superhero movie, people weren't thinking of it as one, you know?
Yeah.
It was a specific kind of genre movie that like was eventually filled by like Underworld and the Resident Evil movies and stuff.
Yeah. I think they made a comic book movie by accident.
Once X-Men came out and started, like, people started becoming familiar with those characters, and they were very clearly from a comic book, and they started building that momentum a bit, and then Spider-Man came out, and then
things get crazy.
That's when I think it like really, starts going. But I think Blade is like, the seed is there,
Yeah.
That's someone going like, this is a bit of a weird choice, but it's kind of playing it safe as well because it sits in these other genres.
Yeah. And you think about like vampires, especially in the 90s, the early 90s, they had a bit of a renaissance there, and then you can kind of carry that over into the late 90s. And I think that was like working off of that, as well as that Wesley Snipes was, I don't know too much about his filmography, but I'm assuming at the peak of his powers, right?
I've got like such a blind spot with a lot of Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I really want to watch Demolition Man, which sounds great.
Yeah, I mainly know him from Demolition Man and Blade.
And the IRS.
And the IRS. As seen on the IRS.
Anyway, this is why we decided to do a Blade podcast. Well, that's not why we decided, but this is some of the background to
We
Blade.
decided to do a Blade podcast because it came out at some point in the past.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But, following on from our episode about Blade's appearance in Spider-Man the Animated Series before, we do a little retrospective, going back through these old movies, and we're starting off with Blade. Before we get into, proper details, I just want to ask you what you thought of this movie before you rewatched it.
I thought it would be a lot more 90s than it ends up being.
Yeah.
In the sense that, Blade has this kind of perception as being really, badass and stoic and kind of gothic.
Self-serious.
Yeah. And, hyper-violent was something I was expecting, but not in the way that it turns out to be. And this movie turned out to be goofy as well.
Goofy as hell.
And, you kind of think about Wesley Snipes as Blade, you think of him being very, stoic and kind of just, gruff and saying all these badass lines. But Wesley Snipes he's barely acting in the best possible way.
It's kind of incredible. Yeah. Before I came back to watching this, I'd seen at least parts of Blade, but it was a long, long time ago. I'd seen Blade 2, but it was a long time ago. I'd never seen Blade Trinity. My memory of those movies is so thin, I can barely remember what I've seen, how much I've seen of it. I know it was a movie I wanted to see and I wasn't allowed to when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because it came out when we were 4.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of a struggle to see it, but I think I must have caught most of it on TV, maybe when I was 8 years old or something. But coming into this, it was almost like an entirely new experience for me, and it was a lot different than I thought it would have been. And so my main takeaway from it is, do people know that this is what Blade is?
I don't think people do.
Because everyone talks about Blade, you know, as something they want to come back and something that was, you know, starting off this Marvel boom or whatever. But I'm like, is anyone watching this? Because no one told me that this shit gets this weird.
It's a bit like the Rocky movie.
Yeah, it's like every Stallone movie where it's got this rep.
Yeah, like I watched Rocky the other day, actually, and with the perceptions of Rocky, like all like the iconic moments, all like the vignettes and things, you go like, that's what Rocky is. They're surrounded entirely by goofy shit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a similar kind of thing to Blade in that, like, you kind of think it's going to be a lot cooler than it ends up being, and a lot of it is just like, what the fuck am I watching it?
What I will say is, before we kind of jump right into it, is give me a number between 1 and 10. What do you rate Blade after watching it again?
As a whole? Yeah, as a whole.
No, what do you think of the first 10 minutes? No,
the first 10 minutes is great. That's a 10.
Okay, fine. But just tell me, what is your rating?
I'd say about a 7.
Okay, I'm just glad you didn't like say minus number or decimal point
2.3
or go over 10 or something.
No.
That was a normal answer for you, but I'm going to give it a 9.
You were a 9?
Yeah, I loved this movie so much. It's proper shot up right into the top of my, well, not the top, but near the top of my like superhero movie list, near the top of my Marvel movie list. Super into this movie. And if anyone hasn't seen it in a while or has never seen it, I think it's definitely worth a watch. And I think you agree with that, even though you're like less enthusiastic.
I'm a bit less enthusiastic about it, but I understand why you're giving it a high number, and it is a good movie.
Yeah.
But like, we'll go into it in a bit, but I just feel there's bits where I'm like, ugh, and there's something that happens at some point, I'm assuming, that makes the movie a lot better.
Yeah, and if anyone here can't remember the movie that well, I do recommend you go watch it before like listen to the rest of this. Because, I mean, we're not going to go through the whole movie.
Because we're going to be here all day.
But I've just got some notes here about some shit that's just, like, making me happy just to see it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, right here I got sci-fi sex coffin.
I don't need the context for that.
Yeah, fucking Stephen Dorff is pretty hammy in this movie.
He's, like, almost got, like, cholesterol poisoning from all the ham he's been eating.
Yeah,
He's got dry mouth from all, like, the scenery he's been chewing.
Yeah, he's playing Deacon Frost. He's, like, the bad guy in the movie. And he's got this very... Even he, for me, is like, I thought I knew what I was going to get with him. And he gets weirder than I thought. He's very much the cool vampire. The cool, sexy vampire. But he's, like, so mean. And he's
a raging asshole.
And he's so disliked by most other vampires that it's kind of great. He's a proper fringe element.
Yeah.
Also, weird note, getting huge Scotty Evil vibes from him.
Oh shit! From Austin Powers,
exactly.
Goldmember, yeah.
Fucking Seth Green,
yeah.
A lot of this movie, well, not a lot, but you got certain things of him being on the board of, I forgot what they called, like the elder vampires who are like running a vampire society.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like with his feet up on the table, you know, raging against them, like in the same way you'd rage against your parents.
Or against the machine because it's 98.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's just very, very angry. And he definitely has this sort of like, why don't we just kill Blade thing? Yeah. It's like the Scotty, why don't we just kill Austin Powers? Just shoot him, just shoot him.
He's right there. Don't make this elaborate trap for him. And they're like, no, it must be done this way, Deacon Frost. And he's like, fuck all y'all. And yeah, Stephen Dorff, he's pretty great.
Yeah, I like him in this. To be honest, I think the one thing I'd say about this movie that I'm not too much of a fan is if you take Stephen Dorff out of the picture and you take Wesley Snipes out of the picture, like who we got?
Donald Logue.
You got Donald Logue. Actually, yeah, okay. He is great. But without those three, like everyone else is a bit plain to me.
That's my one criticism of this movie, is that when like Deacon Frost or Blade or Donald Logue aren't on screen, the movie fucking drags.
But that's not a huge amount of it. You get a few scenes with Whistler and God damn, what's the name? I'm gonna have to Google it. We can't get
love interest who has to be black because it's 1998.
What's the name?
I don't know. The movie doesn't care.
It makes sense to bring her in because she's like the POV character. to have someone to explain the world to.
But they didn't even seem bothered to explain her. Like, they're like, almost like, bitch, figure it out yourself, you know?
What was her name? Okay, she's Karen. Oh.
Fucking Karen.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, she's unimportant and kind of boring.
She's loosely sexy.
But in an interesting way, because as we noted when we watched it, she kind of goes from regular Joe to psycho incredibly fast.
Yeah. She's like a doctor in like a hospital, but she has no qualms with taking her life.
She gets kind of thrown into it earlier. She's attacked by a vampire. She sees one killed. She's brought into Blade's world. And she's shown enough that she can't deny it's true. And you think this is going to be the sort of difficulty for her, is her sort of getting used to the dark world that Blade lives in, where he's like, fuck all vampires. And she's ready for it straight away.
Yeah.
She just starts killing people.
There's one point where like she's like recovering and Blade goes over like, how you doing? And she's like, oh yeah, I made these like things to kill vampires faster, Blade. What do you think, Blade? And then you can hear him go to whistle like, this bitch is crazy.
It's not even that. They will make their heads explode.
Yeah.
Which also, gotta point out, some of the effects in this movie are fucking great.
Incredible.
It's a very specific 98 thing of like this mix of sort of unfinished looking CGI and practical effects.
Yeah.
But it makes it kind of, by today's standard, look actually more interesting to me.
Than like 97 or 99 would.
Yeah, it's just, it's not quite developed, but it's just weird.
It's almost stylized in how like, not shitty it looks, but unfinished and rudimentary it looks sometimes.
Yeah. I tell you what, this is reference will speak only to a few people. But for those who have seen Twin Peaks The Return, you might kind of think of the kind of effects we're getting where it's a bit weird and not quite blended with the reality. But either way, you get some crazy stuff in this. And
A lot of fucking skeletons.
A lot of gore. There's heads swelling up and exploding. How does that guy die on the beach when they expose him to sunlight?
Oh, his face like melts and his head explodes. And, like,
yeah. Oh, yes. He burns. He starts melting.
Yeah.
It's really intense, and then he explodes.
Yeah.
It's fucking. That whole scene was great. I loved that, and that's just Stephen Dorff being an asshole.
Just
it's
hamming
amazing.
it up. I think we'll kind of skip away from going through the entire plot because it's long and kind of convoluted and really stupid.
I tell you what, I was actually super into the plot as just, look, here's Blade's motivations. He's mad at vampires because they killed his mum during childbirth. He's kind of the day walker. He's got like vampire powers and blah, blah, blah. But then the thing where it loses me when it starts becoming the chosen one.
Yeah.
And his blood will be used to resurrect the blood god. Also, his mum is actually alive.
And also, there's a weird like Oedipal thing going on there.
Yeah, his mum, who's meant to be dead, turns out she was turned by Deacon Frost.
And she is sexy now.
And she's sexy and the same age as Wesley Snipes now because she's a vampire.
Yeah.
And she's like making like sex eyes at him and almost kissing him and while he's tied up.
It's some really weird.
And then
like,
Stephen Dorff
psychosexual
becomes
shit.
like his stepdad.
Yeah.
It's super weird. And also, personally for me, I mean, I'm not a huge Blade fan, but after reading some Blade comics recently, I don't know if they ever did bring his mum back in the comics at any point, but it kind of feels like bringing Uncle Ben back, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a...
And then he's like sexually attracted to Peter Parker.
Yeah, exactly. When she came back, I was like, oh no. And then I thought, oh, okay, no, they're going to revert this. This is going to be some bullshit.
Yeah.
There'll be a vampire who can change her face, or it's some illusion. He's fucking with him.
Nope.
And then it's just his mom that he eventually has to kill. And that was actually kind of a huge bummer to me. And that was like a proper like stain on the movie that kind of bothered me.
There was a little like I think overall I understand why it's like been burned into the lexicon, but the movie's dumb as hell.
Yeah, it's dumb as hell, but I feel like it's at this just great level of just running with it, you know?
Yeah.
I'd even go to say as far as it's camp, you know?
It's pretty camp. It's extremely camp.
It's extremely camp because it's got a specific mix of like goofiness that's a tongue-in-cheek goofiness and just an accidental goofiness.
Yeah.
And Wesley Snipes is this ultra-serious character. You can tell on the page this is serious as hell, but he's bringing this weird stuff to it. I couldn't believe in like straight away in the movie, he's not doing the cold-hearted stuff. Well, he is, but he's doing it and he's also like making crazy eyes at people and having one-liners and just like being quite emotive.
Being a bit sassy, a little bit like...
It's kind of awesome because it's like, for me, it's like, oh, this guy's actually got personality. He's not just the cool, silent protagonist, you know?
I think 100% he's written that way, but Snipes' like personality comes out so much in this movie.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, part of me wonders if this would have gone anywhere if they didn't have someone as like charismatic as Snipes.
I honestly think that anyone else who's not Wesley Snipes, this movie bombs.
Yeah.
This movie is terrible otherwise. Like, I think the way you described the movie, I agree with, as long as we're talking about the first 10 minutes and the second half of the movie. Mm-hmm. But there's a good like 30, 40 minutes in like the end of the first act, start of the second act, where I'm bored.
But
I think about halfway through, I remember like watching it with you, and then us like leaving in the room for a little bit, and then we're like kind of like paused on like Wesley Snipes in the train station.
Yeah.
And as soon as we unpaused it, I'm like, yes, fuck yes, this movie rocks. Mm-hmm. But there's a bit before that where I'm a bit like...
See, for me, it was more like strong start, then we're settling it at this average pace, and then it steps up again. So for me, it wasn't like a dip down into bad. It was just like fine.
Yeah, okay. And it doesn't help that a lot of like what we're talking about is, in that part, is Karen's character. It's Stephen Dorff, but it's also like those fucking NPC, like vampire council people who bore the hell out of me. Donald Logue has obviously not had his coke yet because he's just kind of playing it very simple.
Yeah, it's when he gets to like the fourth time Blade has killed it.
Yeah, and he's like, he just loses his goddamn mind, and it's excellent.
Eventually leading to the line, I want to be a naughty vampire god.
Presented without context.
He's great. He's just...
I fucking love Donald Logue, and I haven't seen him in that many things. Like, there's Grinder for Life, the sitcom he starred in.
Yeah.
And then there's, I think, the first season of Gotham, which is...
Right, I know Sonny Gotham. Who's in Gotham?
He's like Gordon's like partner.
Oh, okay, so just...
Yeah, just some dude, yeah.
He's not like playing like the Joker or something.
No.
But there's some wild stuff. I'm just going to run through just random notes I have because I don't even know how to bring this stuff up. There's a car chase where the movie changes to 1.5 or 2 times speed to the point that I thought I'd sat on the remote because for some reason they decided to make these cars go along like it's fucking Looney Tunes.
I mean, like, it's kind of filmed in the way that if you have the right footage, you could put like a Benny Hill theme on top of it.
Yeah, 100%. We've also got the aforementioned sci-fi sex coffin, which Stephen Dorff is hanging out in with sexy women all the time. You got Blade walking down the high street like it's midnight cowboy, but he's just in all this gear and guns and knives and stuff, and no one bats an eyelid.
Everyone's just like, oh yeah, just Blade. Just the crazy dude in leather. Just like go about their lives.
In fact, some people are like, oh, hey, Blade.
Yeah, how's
Blade?
Blade?
Hey, this guy who's part of my normal fucking life.
Imagine your life if Blade shows up in it and you're like, this is fine.
We've also got a point where Stephen Dorff, I should stop calling him by his name, where Deacon Frost is holding like a child hostage against Blade, and he says to Blade, spare me the Uncle Tom routine.
And that's like...
Because he's a half vampire who's on the side of humans?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm offended by that.
It's just like, okay. Well, I'm glad this happened like so many years ago because we could just go, what?
Yeah. The level of required of like cultural like credit needed to like unpack that line.
Yeah.
I don't know like what to make of it. Did Wesley Snipes like recommend he say that? Go on, man. Go on, Stephen. You can say it. I'm gonna let you say it.
We've also got one thing I have to point out is the goddamn skeletons at the end.
Jesus Christ, the skeletons.
Where just out of fucking nowhere, winged skeletons climb out of the elder vampires' mouths, leaving like their skin behind and flying in around like ghosts. There's a level of just anything goes insanity in this movie that sparks up now and again that makes it impossible for me not to love this movie. Yeah.
Like every now and again, like it's written on coke, honestly. Well, you can tell when like kind of like the buzzers die down and they've gone to the bathroom, they're like, let's move another line. The movie just peaks again and just like slowly
that
tails
fucking
off.
like techno, like the fucking Time Splitters soundtrack like kicks in it, and then he's just like, you know, running around and killing vampires again, and it doesn't slow. And
no, it's like breakneck speed and fast, but it never slows.
Yeah.
I think once that second half kicks in, it just doesn't stop until the end. But yeah, so we talked a lot about Blade, but how does this movie end? And the answer is insanely.
A big group fight and then a one-on-one
With
like
Deacon Frost.
ninja katana fight?
It's
Is it
technically
katanas?
a group fight because there's 12 skeleton ghosts inside of Stephen Dorff as he fights.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But he just looks like a regular guy with like red eyes or something.
Yeah.
And that's what the blood god is.
Yeah.
Because originally
The blood god was meant to be an actual blood god.
and there's a sort of what I guess is unfinished CG on the DVD extras where it's like the alternate ending where giant swarm of blood, but then the same sort of fighting happens where he has to get the head explodey thing and inject 10 of them into him at once.
Yeah.
But that kind of makes a bit more sense when he's a dude, but otherwise he just did it in a big gelatinous blood giant.
It looks like he's fighting the open credits to the Daredevil TV show.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's so weird. I don't know. And apparently though, at least according to Wikipedia, that was what they test screened. And that's what people were like,
No.
fuck this movie. And then they just changed that. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, the commentary that
really
like, yeah.
bad. It looked really bad.
It looked like shit, even for like 1998. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder no one wanted to see this.
And according to the extras, that scene ends with him blowing up the blood monster and he just walks off. He doesn't even say the line, which is...
The line, which of course, the only line we know from Blade, which is some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah.
Which is, you know it's coming, but the way it kind of unfolds, the way it's delivered, this is the perfect way to end a movie.
For some reason, I thought it was going to be like a throwaway line in the middle of a fight early on in the movie.
yeah.
I didn't think it would be like the final line of the final boss.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Preceding Wesley Snipes roundhouse kicking a syringe into a guy's face.
Yep.
And that's how this movie fucking ends. It's amazing.
It's incredible.
But what's even more incredible is how this line came to be.
Yeah?
Now, you usually think of these kind of lines as like a Schwarzenegger-ass like screenwriters going in like, how are we going to make Blade sound badass? But the truth is way weirder. So, according to Good Bad Flicks, what actually happened was that the screenwriter David Goyer actually heard Wesley Snipes saying this line in real life. Like, he just walks around saying this in real life, and he was like, I'm going to put this in a movie. And even funnier, Wesley Snipes was completely against this. He did not want this line in the movie. They're like, this is too stupid to put in this movie. And it turned out to be gold.
Yeah. I just imagine like being like by the crafts table and just like hearing him saying that to like a fucking sound guy.
Yeah.
Or some guy he knows.
Yeah. Or he's just like mumbling it to himself between takes. Some motherfuckers always ask it up here. God damn. It's just, it makes that line just a little bit crazier. And it also kind of hints at what's going to come in Blade Trinity, is all I'll say.
I don't even know what to make of that.
No, I know you don't. But yeah, some motherfuckers always do ice skate uphill.
And if Blade 2 ends up being like more of that, you know, with like a Del Toro sort of design thing on top, then I don't see how I'm not going to love Blade 2 as well. But I mean, I'm pretty excited to jump into retrospective because I really thought that this was going to be like some late 90s self-serious slog, you know? And it ended up being something like way more personality than I thought.
Way more goofy than I thought.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, like, you gotta think of Blade as, like, this badass, and he's really not.
Yeah. It did what it had to. Yeah.
And I skated uphill when I had to.
Yep.
As well as that, I want to, like, kind of compare it back to the animated series. Spoiler for the episode if you haven't seen it already. But, like, the animated series kind of convinced me that this version of Blade is the only version of Blade that can work. I think his backstory is just so bare.
Yeah.
And, like, if you play him the wrong way, he just comes across as boring and a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
And he did, as he did in the animated series, where I'm like, why the fuck would you make a movie out of this?
You have to lean into the crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you gotta be a little crazy to spend your entire life hunting vampires.
You can be a little crazy to, like, have your legal name as Blade.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since, like, it's his choice to continue this war because it's like an underground society, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like if he doesn't do this, then the world's gonna end or anything. Or at least it turns out that that's true because it's a movie, but for the most part, he just jumps into it because, you know...
Shits and giggles.
Mad at vampires for killing his mom.
Yeah.
Or not
So many
killing
things.
his mom.
Yeah. He doesn't even seem interested in like human women at all.
That is true. Yeah, he is entirely like...
He's horny for vampire blood and that is it.
Exactly, yeah.
If he was anyway like that way inclined, a woman who is that dedicated to murdering vampires would be his like ticket to like...
Yeah, that's
town.
true actually, right?
Yeah.
Like if anyone was going to do it, it would have been Karen.
Yeah, looks like a raging psychopath who wants nothing more than to kill vampires and is like an expert in blood.
Yeah,
and
Whistler
like,
showed more interest.
Yeah.
Also, they killed Whistler in this movie, and I did not think he was gonna die this early. I thought he was gonna be in the rest of the movies or something.
I thought he'd have him like, on like life support and he'd survive at the end.
Yeah, but nope.
Nope, he just dies. Like Blade lets him shoot himself in the face.
Yeah,
It's pretty badass.
shit got dark.
Yeah, and like Whistler is again. He reminds me of like Daredevil's Stick,
Yeah,
but if it had no personality.
there's a lot of stick analogs in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I find.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of splinters.
Yeah, a lot of wise like senseis with like varying degrees of disability. Just they were talking about Karen and how Blade doesn't really seem interested in fucking at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like Karen's a white woman, so like they're like, no, you can't have sex with her. There's like so many opportunities. It should have happened. It didn't.
In a way, though, that's kind of nice because not every action movie has to have the male protagonist and the other female character get together. Like sometimes people just hang out.
Yeah.
It's interesting given the time, you know?
Yeah. So the thing about Blade is that like this shouldn't work. And there was a point where I was like going through the first like after the first 10 minutes where I was looking at this movie, I'm like, is this bad? But then Wesley Snipes shows up on screen and I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. I think if you're like nostalgic about this movie and you're wondering, is this terrible? I'm here to say that the answer is no, you know? And I'm really excited to see Blade 2, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Especially since, for all intents and purposes, like Blade 2 is meant to be the great one and Blade is meant to be the okay one. So
yeah.
I'm super excited, which might be a bad thing because I came into this not excited and was super into it.
Yeah.
Might go into Blade 2 with high expectations and be disappointed, who knows. But either way, we're going to be talking about Blade 2 in our next retrospective episode.
But the special thing about this retrospective is that it's not on our regular feed, people. We've got a Patreon because we like to not actively lose money making these. Yeah. And so...
Actually, no, we love actively losing money, but we thought that we'd just try making a little bit to pay off a couple of things that we need to get the podcast running.
Yeah.
So there's a Patreon. It should be up by the time this podcast is out.
And by the very least, we'll have a Blade 2 retrospective ready for you guys to listen to. And we'll also be diving into that movie that is Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
That's a fucking doozy and a half.
Yeah, so we'll be going into those two in future Patreon episodes.
Yeah.
So if you sign up and donate a little to our cause, I was going to say cause, that sounds... We're not a cause.
Yeah, like no one's dying here.
To our bullshit, maybe?
Yeah, if you want to endorse our bullshit and enable us further,
yeah,
and feed our ego even more than it has been fed in the past, yeah, donate a little bit. Like, it's not going to cost you the world because this is a fucking Spider-Man podcast.
Yeah.
Just to know that you care, you know?
Yeah, so Blade 2 should be up on there now or soon. Yeah. Blade Trinity will be up soon as well, and then we've got a whole slew of other ideas for like bonus episodes we're going to be put, other retrospectives, all sorts of shit.
I'm thinking Meteor Man's going to have to be like explored at some point.
Yeah, apparently we got to talk about Meteor Man now, and I'm trying so hard not to talk about it already because I have so many questions. But we're not talking Meteor Man. In fact, we're not talking Blade anymore.
We're done. We're not talking anymore. So this is the end of the podcast, guys. But yeah, thanks for tuning in as always. And if you have any questions or memories about Blade, let us know. We are dying for validation.
Yeah, that 90s Spider-Man show at gmail.com, no hyphen.
No, that's all one word, no hyphen. As well as that, find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whenever we can find podcasts.
Yeah, look at the description below for all those things as well.
And that's been our Blade podcast, folks. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, some motherfuckers always try to ice get uphill. See you later, everybody.